Hello everyone, it's Ege. Today I'll be explaining you guys the Buckingham Pi Theorem. We use this theorem to eliminate the excessive amount of unknown variables, and with this theorem we'll be able to solve the questions much more faster in an easier way with a less amount of unknown variables. So let's start. I'll solve an example and I hope this example will help you guys to understand the concept. So we have 5 variables this time. It's force, diameter, velocity, density, and viscosity. As you all can see, it's an MLT system. What is MLT system? It's mass, length, and time. So first of all, we have to count how many variables we have. And as you all can see, we have 5. So we say n equals to 5. So we have to group them, repeating variables and non-repeating variables. This time it's given that diameter, velocity, and density are the repeating variables. So how to calculate how many non-repeating variables that we have to use? It's simple as, we count repeating variables as k. So k equals to 3. So how do we find the non-repeating variables? It's basically n minus k equals to r. And r gives us the amount of non-repeating variables, which is 2 in this instance. So we can start. Pi 1 equals to f, d, v, and p. So what is f in MLT system? It's m l t to the power of -2. And what is d? D is just length to the power of a. So what is v, velocity? It's l to the t to the power of -1, and all to the power of b. And what is the last one? Density. Density is m times l to the power of -3 to the power of c. And this whole thing needs to be equal to m to the power of 0, l to the power of 0, and t to the power of 0. So now what we have to do is we have to eliminate m's, l's, and t's, and we try to find the coefficients for a, b, and c. So let's find it. So we have only one m term in here. And how to eliminate this one? We can eliminate it with density because the only m we have is here. And this c coefficient has to be -1 in order to eliminate m's. So if we assume that n to the power of 1 times m to the power of c equals to m to the power of 0, what should c need to be? C has to be -1. And let's go to t. So we have t to the power of -2 here. We have t to the power of -b. And that's all. So what should t be? b has to be -2. And so the last goal is length. What is length? Length is, in here it's to the power of 1. And it's here, it's to the power of a. Here we said b is -2, so I can write it as like that. And in here we said c is -1, so we can multiply them, and it gives us l to the power of 3. And this term needs to be equal to l to the power of 0. So what should the a be? 1 minus 2 plus 3 plus a equals to 0. So what is A? A is -2. So let's write this concept in pi terms. So it should be pi 1 equals to A to the power. So what is this? This is force. Force times L to the power of -2. What is L? L is our diameter. So diameter to the power of -2 times B. B to the -2. What is B? B is our velocity. So it's velocity to the power of -2 as well. And what is our C? C is -1. And that means that density to the power of -1. And we can simplify this as pi 1 equals to F divided by B squared, and density. So let's find pi 2. Let me write pi 1 here again. It was F D squared, B squared, and density. So, pi 2. This time, the other non-repeating variable is viscosity. So, it is viscosity, diameter, velocity, and density. So let's find it in MLT system. Viscosity is m L to the power of -1, T to the power of -1. Diameter is L to the power of A. Velocity is L T times to the power of -1, power of B. And what is density? M times L to the power of -3 to the power of C, like we did to find pi 1. So let's find it. Let's start with M terms again. So we have only one M here, and we have M to the power of C. And this has to be, sorry, this is multiplication. So this has to be equal to M to the power of 0. So C should be -1. Okay, let's go to T. T, we have T to the power of -1 here times T to the power of -B. And that's all. That's all we have for T terms. And this has to be equal to T to the power of 0. So what should B be? B has to be -1. Let's find the L terms, and so we can find coefficient A. It's L to the power of -1 from here, L to the power of A. We found B as -1, so I can multiply them, which will give me L to the power of -1. And here I found C as -1, so I can multiply them, and that will give me L to the power of 3. And this has to be equal to L to the power of 0. So -1 plus A minus 1 plus 3 has to be equal to 0. So A has to be -1. So this time we found all coefficients are -1. So we can write it as pi 2 equals to viscosity times, what is A? Diameter. Diameter to the power of -1, velocity to the power of -1, and density to the power of -1. we can write this as viscosity divided by diameter times velocity times density. So these are our two pi terms. So we can write this function as f equals to the function of pi 1, which is f divided by d squared times v squared times p, comma, viscosity divided by diameter times velocity times density.